Well, you guys, I think it's safe to say that we are finally into what I consider to be the worst part of every NBA season, which can be labeled as the offseason of the literal offseason. Because with Summer League finally coming to an end, and on top of that, the entire free agency world waiting to see what happens with both Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, NBA news might start to get a little bit slow. But something that I feel we absolutely need to talk about that has kind of been dragging on throughout the course of this offseason, and is even catching the majority of the spotlight this week, is James Harden and his new contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. Because I'm going to be honest, with the details of the contract finally becoming official, and on top of that, seeing the surprising reactions from the majority of the NBA world to this, I think the majority of people have a complete misunderstanding of what the game plan in this situation was and still is going forward. One sec though, guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to like the video if you do enjoy, subscribe, and turn on those notifications to never miss another NBA video. Love you guys. And also, make sure to check out my second channel as well, where if you enjoy NBA simulations and what-if style videos, we're going to start doing those over there every single week. Link to that will be in the description, but anyway, let's get back on topic with the Philadelphia 76ers, who, if you missed it after there being speculation on what the actual details of this contract would be for the last couple of weeks, have finally agreed to a 2-year, $68 million deal with James Harden. And as most of you probably know, with all of the headlines we had been consistently seeing throughout the entire free agency thus far, word on the block was that Harden was willing to take a substantial pay cut to stay with the Philadelphia 76ers, which was obviously for the reasoning of giving the team some wiggle room to improve the roster as much as they possibly could. And yes, I think I already know what some of you might be thinking, because even though he did take a deal that will be earning him $33 million this upcoming season, and on top of that, $36 million in the 2024 season if he accepts his player option, this is, as crazy as it sounds, still a pay cut, and a pretty substantial one at that. But if you were relatively new to this entire situation, taking a look on social media last night, you wouldn't even know that this was the case. Because at least from what I saw, there were still people managing to have a field day on James Harden, expressing how he should have taken an even lower salary than this if he truly wanted to make this Philadelphia team better. And with this state of mind, I don't think many people are on the same page as Daryl Morey right now. Because with this entire situation, I think many people are so quick to forget what might be the biggest piece in this entire thing, and the majority of you probably know this, but it's the fact that James Harden declined a $47 million player option, and in the most direct way possible told Daryl Morey to sign and acquire whoever he needs to get, and simply just give him the remainder of what's left afterwards. Because the reality of it is, even though I know Sixers fans would probably enjoy to see additional free agency acquisitions occur, what the team's already done this offseason, barring another potential trade down the road, is probably how the rotation's gonna look going into the 2023 campaign. And you know, honestly, it is not nearly as bad as some people out there are trying to make it out to be. Because to start, the idea of paying a man $34.5 million a year who's coming off of a season averaging 22, 8, and 10 a game is not bad even in the slightest when hindsight is 2020. And Harden actually made a point about this that I agree with, in the sense that if it was anybody else around the league putting up these kind of numbers, that they would more than likely be demanding a max, and they would also receive it. I know he did have an off year last season, and it's going to take a pretty big bounce back for people to ease up on him, but with the actual acquisitions that Philadelphia made, with what many consider to be very little wiggle room that James Harden left the team, has undoubtedly made them a much better team, and there are obvious reasons as to why. Because as we've seen so far, the crucial moves that Philly has made throughout this offseason include trading for De'Anthony Melton on draft night to acquire him from the Memphis Grizzlies, and on top of this, signing both PJ Tucker and Danuel House Jr. And I know, looking at the overview of their offseason moves, they aren't necessarily eye-popping to the casual NBA fan, but in fact, all of these these guys seem to fill the holes exactly where Philadelphia needed to improve. Because aside from obvious reasons for their downfall last season, which included some of their key players not being able to step up, the most noticeable weakness in this team was easily their depth. And we could get into last year and discuss how their depth wasn't necessarily built out for a championship caliber roster, but instead, when you take a look at the 3 acquisitions that they made, I think I can confidently say that all 3 of them are going to contribute to the rotation, both in the regular season and a postseason run as well. Because with what is now a well-established big 3 at the helm of Joel Embiid, James Harden, and rising star Tyrese Maxey, the goal of Daryl Morey is crystal clear at this point, which is trying to find role players to support these guys that are both defensive focused and can also knock down the deep ball. And these guys, well, they fit that mold almost perfectly. Because to start, we'll go with what is probably considered their biggest offseason acquisition in PJ Tucker, who agreed to a 3-year, $33 million deal, is a guy who has proven over the last couple of years that he can improve a team substantially no matter where he goes. Now I know handing out a contract like that to someone who is going to be 38 years old at the end of the following NBA season can definitely be considered a risk. But in my opinion, with what PJ brings to the table, shooting over 41% from 3 last season, and also taking a massive responsibility every single game on the defensive end, he is definitely worth this kind of money. And next up with De'Anthony Melton, who has also proven he can be a threat from deep over the course of his last 2 seasons. He is a guy who has consistently improved in his 4 seasons in the NBA so far, and I think I can confidently say adding a versatile 23-year-old like this to any team would be a solid move. And then we have Danuel, who is the one player we've discussed so far where you can maybe make the case that he could or could not be in this team's rotation, is still a very solid pickup that in the end is definitely not going to hurt anything. Because for someone like him who has proven in the past that he can be a very substantial rotational player in his days in Houston, and is also coming off a season shooting over 41% from 3 with the Utah Jazz, I definitely think that he is going to end up fitting into exactly what Philly is trying to do. But when looking at it in the grand scheme of things right now, for the Philadelphia 76ers, who again, as of right now, you could anticipate are going to throw out a 10-man rotation looking something like this. I'm not saying it's perfect, there are definitely still moves that could be made and are probably going to be made as well, but you can definitely say through both acquisitions and their experience together that this team has definitely improved. So yeah, with the entire James Harden situation, I think it's very clear now that this was the rotation and guys that Daryl Morey wanted going into next season, and the Harden contract agreement was Daryl Morey and the front office stating, okay, we've done what we wanted and needed to do. Now the question remains, will the game plan of Daryl Morey end up working out in the favor of Philly when it's all said and done? Obviously, only time will tell, but I am extremely curious to hear what you guys have to think about their situation. So please let me know in the comments, what do you think Philadelphia's record is going to be at the end of the 2023 season? On top of that, how far in the postseason do you think they'll make it? And also, was there something in specific you anticipated or wanted Philadelphia to do that they ended up not going through with? But again, you guys, if you haven't yet, don't forget to go down below and leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and of course, subscribe while you're down there. I mean, we got brand new videos here every single week, we got brand new videos on my second channel every single week now as well, so just believe me when I say it, you do not want to miss out. But also guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much to each and every one of you for watching. I appreciate you all more than anything, you all know this, and I will see you guys in the next video.